All right, good morning. Hope everybody is doing well on this Sunday, whether it's morning where you're at or afternoon or evening. Thank you for joining us and happy Mother's Day. All right, so just doing the refresher, making sure it's all showing up on your guys' side, no problem. All right, so this is Paint with Lovejoy. We are going to be doing flowers for mom today and a few things about what you're looking at. I am reusing a canvas, and there is a link in the description box below if you want to reuse or re-gesso a canvas. And that's a great way to kind of get a lot of practice in for painting. If you're going to make this as a gift for mom, I do recommend going with a fresh canvas. The other thing that you're going to see here is I do already have the design drawn on the canvas here. And you can either pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video for the painting portion, or there is a link in the description box below, and you can go and purchase the Traceable on the website. And I actually already have it uploaded for today's painting because I had a few people requesting it so they could follow along. So you can check out that link, you can purchase it, it's an immediate download, you print it out, and then with carbon paper, transfer it to your canvas. And there is a video in there on how to transfer your Traceable to your canvas. So either option that you choose, just pick the painting back up for the painting portion, or the video back up for the painting portion. And you're welcome to pause and catch the replay, but kind of go at your pace. So for today's painting, I haven't used the knife in a while, so I'm going to do a palette knife background. And if you haven't seen any of my demos with the knife before, I'm going to do my style knife painting to where we're going to scrape on here. And we'll scrape maybe 3 or 4 layers. And this is a traditional palette knife shape that I usually use, but I'm on a smaller canvas, so I'm going to use a smaller knife where I have a little more control. But you've got options. All right. Awesome. Hi, Betty. Hi, Jen. Hi, Denise. Awesome. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Glad you guys could jump on this morning. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into painting. So we're going to do our full background, and I'm going to be scraping from these black lines all the way to the edges of the canvas. And if you're on a stretched canvas, I do recommend carrying that color around the edge. So I'm actually going to start with a light pastel color. And I'm going to actually throw a few chunky colors on there, and then we'll scrape on top of them. So I'm grabbing just a little bit of my purple to mix with it. A little bit of pigment goes a long way to start off with. And this particular knife method is highly therapeutic. You can scrape away any of your anxiety, frustrations, anything that's basically pissing you off these days. Scrape it into your painting. So after you've got your color mixed, I'm going to basically just grab it, load it up on the back of my knife, and I usually do push my finger right here for a little bit of extra support, and we're just going to be scraping it on top of the background. Now for this repurposed canvas, this is actually great to do the knife work of my style palette knife scraping on top of the resurfaced canvases because you've already got some texture on here. And this is what I really like using my resurfaced, my re-gessoed canvases for. So if you're into that and you don't want to purchase a whole lot of panels or canvas, look into resurfacing them and then maybe trying this knife technique on it. I've got quite a few demos on the channel with the knife like this, and then I do have my class on my online school, paintwithlovejoy.com, and you can go through my traditional intro to knife scraping class. All right, I'm sure I'm going to stumble over my words a little bit more too. All right, so I'm actually making a little bit of a darker purple. And do your same mixing, and sometimes this is just as fun, just to mix your colors, especially with the knife. So going a little bit darker, scraping it on here, and you will notice that as I come around the flowers, I'm actually going to cut off the stems a little bit. So if you happen to scrape something, go over an area, or you scrape on top of it, don't stress. We can still see through it, and we can always add more paint on top of it. So wherever you might be inclined to put these colors, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a light yellow as well in a few spots, and then we'll do some light blue, and our tulips will be a little bit more of the red with a few little highlights on there. So just to kind of give you an idea of the direction that we're going. But with any of my videos or paintings, you will have full permission to deviate from what I'm doing, and kind of make it your own. So swap out colors, completely change it up. And no matter what you do, please email me photos of what you paint today, whether you do exactly what I'm doing or you switch it up. And email those to me, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or tag me in the social media outlets. And it'll be @ or hashtag paintwithlovejoy. All right, so now I'm grabbing my white and yellow mixture. It actually turned out a little more yellow than I wanted, but that's okay. And I'm going to be kind of careful as I scrape it over the purple because these are complementing colors. I don't want to do too much, but because it's also transparent, you do get a few nice effects. So kind of just go slow when you're scraping your yellow on top of the purple so you don't mix too much, but also observe what it looks like as you do that. And like I said earlier, just any frustrations, just scrape away. Remember to breathe. I don't think I have too many students that actually hold their breath in this class. The scraping method, I think, kind of gets them in the groove. All right, and if anybody has any questions today, please feel free to just leave a comment in the chat and I'll address it as I am scraping and painting. But either way, I liked yesterday's where, you know, all you guys were talking amongst yourself and having fun and drinking wine, and I definitely had a glass of wine, or not wine, but I had a beer afterwards that evening. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go with some light blue now, and I'm actually just going to mix that light blue on top of that purple, so that way we'll have a little bit of even a periwinkle. And again, same thing as you scrape this color on top of another, just observe what it looks like, how maybe it changes, and what you're observing is what we call color theory. You interpret your colors based on the color that's next to it, and it is kind of cool that when you have this exact same color, how it looks a little bit different when it's scraped over the purple compared to being scraped on top of the white or even scraped on top of the yellow. So just, again, start observing how you're looking at these things. And that's just shaping your creative knowledge as you continue to move forward and get creative. And there is no right or wrong way for that type of development. You're just observing the way that you look at the world. And no matter what, on any of my videos, if you have to mix your color a second or third or fourth time, never stress about getting the exact same shade. You are learning a lot each time that you mix your color. And variety in your painting is only to your benefit. And here, as you kind of get a little bit closer into the flowers, if it starts getting a little frustrating, feel free to turn your canvas sideways, turn it upside down. I try to keep it in the same orientation just because I am filming. But at home, feel free, if you want to sit it on your lap, if you want to do a handstand and paint while you're doing it, please take a picture of that and send it to me. But do what you have to do to get creative. All right, let's see. I see a few more comments. Awesome. Wow, awesome. Hi, Sonia. Let's see, we got a few questions. Do you ever prime a brand new canvas? I generally don't. But most of the time when you're getting those brand new canvases, they're already gessoed, already primed. So you don't really need to put another layer on top of it. If you're working with oils, I know some artists do like to have a base layer on top of the gessoed layer, and that's just personal preference. And I'm assuming some acrylic artists probably like the same thing. So just kind of find what works for you. Maybe Google priming an acrylic canvas and see what other artists are doing and give it a try. See if it's something you like. I'm usually ready to jump right into painting, so I never really liked mixing paint, so that's why I always enjoyed the knife, because I would just grab color out and basically do a visual mixing on here. But you just kind of find what works for you. All right, oh, cool. We got a few more people jumping on. Excellent. Excellent. And let's see, I thought I missed a question on there. Let's see, oh, Betty's asking, she doesn't feel like her paint goes a long way when you spread it. It will depend on the brand of paint that you have, on how far it will go, and the consistency. So even with the same brand, like I use, closest here is Liquitex. The Liquitex Basic is kind of transparent, so it's nice for the layering. The Liquitex Heavy Body is so thick that it's a lot harder to spread, and I'd probably go through double the amount of paint for coverage with that brand, with the Heavy Body compared to the student grade paint. So it's definitely going to depend on the type of paint that you have. All right, so I kind of like that base background, but I do want to go a little more pastel-y. So I'm actually wiping the knife off and going to grab that white by itself. And we're going to scrape the white on top of it. And I am using a decent amount of pressure because I want the colors to shine through from underneath. And this is where some of that cool texture comes in as well. So as we scrape it across, and if you want, if you applied your paint a little bit thicker, please let your paint dry before you scrape this white layer on, because you don't want it mixing too much. You basically want the ridges, the texture of the canvas, and the texture of re-gessoing the canvas to basically, as we scrape across, pick up the paint on the high peaks, and then the little valleys, that's where the colors from underneath can shine through. And with putting this white on top of it, the white is transparent, so it kind of diffuses it a little bit, and it is bringing it closer to that kind of pastel color I was going for. And then the flowers, the tulips, are going to be with the brushwork, and they'll be a little more opaque and solid, so they should pop forward nicely. And again, just like I'm doing right here, going right over those stems and even over the perimeter of the petals. If you do that on yours, don't stress too much, because when we go over with the brushwork, we'll apply our paint a little bit thicker and it'll be more opaque on there. All right, hi Rhonda, how's it going? Excellent, excellent. I love it. I hope everybody is having a wonderful morning. It is, I spoke too soon last week and I was like, oh, we don't have any May gray. It's been nice and sunny, and May gray is here in Southern California. Okay, so I actually want to go a little bit darker right here because the stems of our flowers would be here and there would be a bit of a shadow. So I'm going to go back and make a little bit darker of that purple, and we're going to scrape right on top of it. And then I think we'll move over to the brushwork. Oh, and I forgot my water today. I'm going to have to scoot over and grab that behind me. I was doing pretty good not forgetting my water there. All right, so again, just going a little bit darker purple, and about where the stems would be and kind of behind the tulips, that's where I'm scraping this. We're almost imagining that it might be a cast shadow on the wall. And as you're working with this at home, don't feel like you have to do exactly what I am doing. Just look at the general area that I'm placing a particular color and just mimic that to your ability, or even better, trust your instincts and change it up and do what works for you. All right, so let's grab a little bit more of that direct purple. There we go. So just a little bit in that center, scraped on some darker purple. And when we put that green stem on top of there, that will actually make it pop nicely. Okay, just taking a quick look. I'm actually going to go a little more white up here, and then we will move on to the flowers. So I'm going to steal some white from that side. There we go. Yeah, so I wanted to be a little bit lighter on the edges. So that way, kind of gives it a bit more of a misty, ethereal look. So here I'm not pressing as hard, so that way I'm not scraping through and using this white for the transparency that it has. Using a little less pressure so it can be a little bit more opaque. So maybe play with that while you're painting at home, the pressure of your brush versus more pressure, and what you like and don't like about that. All right, and as you're doing this, remember to kind of get out of your chair, look at it from a distance, because it is going to look different from 5 to 10 feet away compared to 2 feet in front of your face while you are painting it. Awesome. All right, so I'm actually looking at it through my phone. So when you take your progress pictures and you look at it on your phone, it's the same thing as looking at it from 20 feet away without getting out of your chair. So another tool to kind of utilize. All right, and I'm actually, as I did that, I was inclined to have a little bit darker blue spot and just a few. So kind of going back to that blue, white, and a little bit of the purple mixture. And this is something that you could go back and forth on for a while. You could even come in and paint your flowers and then realize you want to do another layer on your background and go back and forth, because there is something really nice about letting each one of these scraped layers dry and then scraping another layer on top of it without the colors mixing. And when I taught my class in the studio, I just had everybody for about 3 hours, so we couldn't do a whole lot of allowing the layers to dry in between. So if you end up liking this style, play with that a little bit at home. All right, cool, cool. Everybody's having a good morning. I like it. All right, so let me see. I'm going to adjust my picture here. We're going to move into the brush, and we're going to kind of take it one petal at a time, but we'll build on kind of what we do for each petal. We're going to lay our base color in, then we'll go a little bit darker underneath, and then we'll do a little bit of a highlight on top, and we'll do the wet on wet blending. And I will be probably switching back between the middle-sized brush and the pointy brush. So feel free to use what you have. And let me lean back and grab my water from yesterday. My watercolors from there. Didn't get too dirty. All right. All right, so just putting a little bit of water on my brush, and I don't quite want this to be full on red, even though that is pretty. And again, you are more than welcome to change the color of your tulips. So if you want to do a different shade, go right ahead. So I'm just going to diffuse the intensity with this with just a little bit of yellow. And it just brings it down just a touch. Go a little bit more. So like I said, that yellow gets diffused quickly. There we go. Not quite a burnt orange, still more on the red side. All right, so this one we are going to lay it kind of thick, and we're going to start with that middle petal, and then I'm going to grab the pointy brush. We'll do some blending on it, and we'll just kind of go from petal to petal. But I am applying this paint kind of thick, and we're working a little more impasto and opaque as we do the petals, so that way there's a nice contrast to the background. And again, remember to breathe. All right, so we've kind of got our base on there. Then I'm going to move down to the pointy brush. I'm going to grab a touch of, actually, let's grab purple. I'm going to grab a touch of purple. There we go. And on the bottom, because then again, we're imagining that the petal is opening from this bottom base, so there's going to be a bit more shadow. So I'm almost making a U shape on the bottom of that red that I just did, and then we're going to diffuse it in there. So we kind of do this little hook, almost smiley face, a U shape. And probably easier to go back up to that middle brush, wipe off your excess paint, and then I'm going to do that stabbing method. And if this big brush is too much, you can do this with the pointy brush as well. But with this little stabbing method, what it's doing is it's kind of pushing that purple paint into the red, changing the color a little bit, and it's just a different method that we can blend. If you end up doing that and maybe move your brush too much, just go back, reapply that purple a little bit, wipe that brush off, and even with the pointy brush, remember to breathe. And again, you're just diffusing that color into the base color. And if you want, you can grab a second brush. We'll keep one for the dark color, one for the highlight, and I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow, and the highlight will be on the top. So basically just kind of placing that color on there And then remember that yellow gets diffused really quickly. I'm going to add a little bit more since it got diffused. And then basically we're going to recreate that for each petal. So that way you're just kind of, again, building on skills that you are learning. All right, so going back to that original color. Again, if you mix it a second or third time and it's just a slightly different shade, that's okay, because the light is hitting each of these petals from a slightly different angle. And since these are the smaller petals, I'm going to go ahead and just lay all the color on. Again, move down to that pointy brush as needed. Remember to breathe and just relax. The nice thing about painting, it just kind of slows you down and brings you right into the moment of what you are physically doing, what you're thinking, and there's no rush. All right, so I'm going to go back to that purple brush, kind of on these seams where these petals meet. And then we do have this back petal right here, and it's got a little bit of a hook. Let me see and make sure, try to do it so you guys can still see at home. This little V shape, and it is going right above that highlight on that front petal. Again, just kind of placing it on there, wipe that excess paint off, and then if you don't like that stabbing method, the pointillism method, then you can actually just move your brush back and forth sideways using light pressure. There's a few different ways to blend, so find what's working for you. And it is easier, that's why it's called wet on wet blending, easier to do it while this is wet rather than dry. Okay, and I'm actually going to go back to the other brush, we'll clean it. I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight on there, and then we're going to go back and repeat that process through the whole thing. Then we'll put our stems on, and then a few little white highlights, and that will be it for the painting. All right, so again with that yellow, where again the yellow is imagining that where the sun, the light source is hitting it, so it's on the top of the petals. And I'm going to add a little bit more to that front petal. So again, just kind of at home, observe where you see the color placed and mimic that to the best of your ability. And now as I just kind of pull this lighter color into the red, trying to allow the lighter color to stay a little more opaque towards the top and then diffuse as I pull it into the red. All right, so let's going to go ahead and do the same thing down here. And I'm going to go ahead and just fill in all the petals, and then we'll be adding our shadows. This one only has, I believe, 2 little back ones and then the side one, so we've got a little more here. And each little flower is a slightly different shape, so you get good practice with doing some shading on these overlapping petals. All right, so again, that red and yellow combo. And again, if you're using student grade paint, just apply your paint a little bit thicker, or if you need to do a second round, totally okay. And I'm editing a video from the Mandarin duck that we did yesterday. I actually did one more round on it yesterday, and this time I filmed it, which I should have done for the Monstera leaf that I did. So I'm going to edit that, do a narration, and just again discuss what it can be and how much richer your painting can look, how much fuller it looks when you do your first layer, let it dry, and then do the same thing on top of it, especially when you're using student grade paint. So like I said, I'm hoping to have that uploaded and released today, maybe tomorrow. All right, so going back to the pointy brush that we were using the purple with, I'm going to place the purple in all the areas, then we'll blend it in, and then I'll do the light yellow, or just the yellow, not the light yellow. All right, so here we're just again kind of following that kind of perimeter petal line. And then we again are imagining that it's opening up from the bottom, the base of the petal, so there's usually a little more shadow happening there. And then the petals hanging out behind kind of makes that little V shape. And then we have one more little petal back here. All right, and then clean the brush, and whichever blending method you found appropriate for today. We're going to blend them in with that. And again, you guys are learning about your value scale, looking at the dark shadow, which is the purple right now. The highlight would be where we're adding the yellow, and then the main color is the red. So as you look at stuff throughout life or in your everyday interactions, start noticing, where do you see the shadow? Where do you see the highlight? And that's how we create this magical illusion on our flat surfaces. So basically, I'm just telling you you're a magician right now while you're painting. All right, so we've got our base on there, our purple. Now we're going to do the opposite side. So going back to my brush that I was using the yellow with. And again, the highlight usually hangs out on the opposite side of where our shadows are. I'm going to pull some into that petal right there and then wipe that brush off, diffuse it a little bit, and then we'll go and do our third tulip. And if you are finding that your hand is shaking as you're getting to this point, it means you're holding your breath. So learn to exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, hum a little song, talk out loud, anything to just kind of make sure that you're still inhaling and keeping your natural rhythms and cycles going. All right, so going back to this last flower, the red and yellow combo. Whoops, and this one got a little bit lighter, that's okay. And again, I'm just going to fill in all the petals, and then we'll do the shading on top of it. I'm going to grab a little bit more red. There we go. Trying to cover up some of those lines. All right, and let's see, this one was the purple one. Going back to the brush that I was using the purple with, we're going to put in all our shadow lines and then yellow. So again, just kind of following the perimeter of those petals. Imagining that the petals behind have a shadow coming from both sides because they're kind of tucked in there. And then again, don't forget these two front petals. They're opening from the base, so they would have their shadow coming from that area. And then again, we're going to wipe that brush off and start diffusing and blending this purple into the red. you do need to go back and grab that red mixture to reapply because maybe you got too much purple, go right ahead. It is a back and forth action when you are blending. And you always have to adjust based on how things are reacting, not how you think they should go. So that's why I say it's painting is a conversation between you and the canvas. Don't fight the canvas because the canvas generally always wins. So the more that you can learn to converse nicely with your canvas, the happier your painting process will be. Awesome. Glad you guys are liking it. Just looked over to see if there was any questions. I was kind of getting lost into this and forgot to do that. So glad everybody's entertaining themselves and talking amongst each other. All right, so now just diffusing this yellow into the petals. And then we'll move to the middle brush. And we're going to do a yellow and green color combo for the stems. And then we'll do a few white highlights, and that'll bring us to the conclusion of the painting. Yeah, not bad. Still at about 30 minutes. And that one I wasn't even trying to keep it at 30 minutes. But again, just want to say thank you guys so much for showing up. This really has been just a great routine to have during this whole crazy, life-changing, new normal time frame. So just appreciate you guys hanging out with me every morning, so thank you. All right. Oh, and a few little plugs that I always forget to do till the end. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out my other videos. You guys are helping me keep this going. Let me know future stuff that you want painted. And I had an email this morning of, I forgot her name, a student that wanted the traceable beforehand. So I'm going to try to be a little more proactive and try to have those traceables out there definitely before the class, and if not, a day or two before the class, so that way you guys can access and actually paint along. So adding that to my to-do list today. But like I said, let me know what you want me to paint in the future. Let me know suggestions. Like, I do change a lot of stuff about how I teach or how I structure the website based on what you guys give me feedback on. So let me know. All right, so I moved back up to the middle brush and did a yellow and green color combo. So you've got your choice. You can either use the full width of your brush like this, or you can turn it sideways. But we're just going to kind of keep medium pressure. It doesn't have to be straight. And we're going to pull it down towards the bottom of the canvas. We'll get a little bit of a curve and possibly some overlapping here, so we might break up that stem. But we'll get for good practice on this one first. So medium pressure and just pull it straight down. If you need to do this with the pointy brush, go right ahead. And then if you need to keep a little bit more pressure, a little thicker paint on there, come in at that 45-degree angle. Do the same thing with this little one. And my paint is very transparent, so I'm actually going to go and make that darker in a minute with the smaller brush. Our other one here, he does kind of curve. Oh good, it'll split right between, and then it does overlap. We're going to add some shading to that. All right, so I'm actually just going to go right in for that that straight green. And because my particular green is on the transparent side, I'm going to apply it a little bit thicker. So here I'm actually imagining that the long stem is actually behind. So I'm coming up underneath the shorter stem. Let me get this one in here. It'll be a little easier to see. There we go. And on the right-hand side of each stem, actually we're just going to fill it up. I forget how transparent this green is. And that makes it a little bit easier for you guys to see. The kind of the lighter green one is the front stem, the darker green one is the back stem. And we're going to go a little bit darker on this guy too. And we will add a highlight with the yellow. And we will go one shade darker with the blue. All right, so with the blue, we're going to go right at the base of the petal. We're going to put a little dot. We're going to diffuse it into the green in just a minute. But where the stem and the petal, or the bud flower meets, and then underneath where that stem overlaps, again, we're just putting that blue right on top of it. We're going to wipe that brush off and again diffuse that blue into the green. Keep that light pressure. You don't have to crazy mix it up, but you're just softening that line so it's not such a harsh line between the blue and the green. Remember to breathe. All right, and then grabbing the yellow, and on the left-hand side, putting a little hint of yellow, and not on all of the stems. Or I mean, not going up the full length of the stem. All right, we've got our green on there, or yellow. Wipe that brush off. And again, that yellow is going to diffuse very quickly, but just softening that line. And then we've got a few highlights of white, and then that will be the conclusion of our painting today. All right, I'm actually going to extend that yellow just a touch because it's kind of bothering me that it stops right there. So just going a little further up. There we go, but not quite to the base because again, that base of that flower is creating a bit of a shadow. And then maybe a little bit right here. Because I'm kind of imagining that the sun's coming from the top left-hand corner. All right, so clean that brush off. We're going to do a few highlights of white, and I'm going to check and see if there's any questions yet, because I forgot to do that. Yes, Tulip is coming to life. Awesome. Oh, good, Susie. I'm glad you got the traceable. Thanks, and thanks for your email. I will be switching that up and making sure they're available for the demos now. So awesome, awesome. So I hope everybody has nice plans to either video conference or chat with their family members and loved ones today, or that you just get to have a nice, chill, relaxing day. All right, so we're grabbing that white, and real similar to the places that we put the yellow on there, we're going to put a few sections of the white, but we're not nearly as much as we put for the yellow. So again, these are just going to be the brightest spots. So if you need to, as we do this, you can move down to a toothpick or a paper clip for some of these small lines if it's too much. And then if you want, put your pinky out. You can put that on your canvas or on the table, and that can be your pivot point, or rest your forearm against the edge of the table. But something to just kind of give you a little bit of extra structure so you're not hovering your brush or your hand and you're getting shaky as you're trying to make some of these smaller dots. And then with that being said, remember to breathe. All right, so again, just light pressure. These are going on the tips of the petals. And it's almost, I always like thinking about this part is where I put this pure white, that's where the sun hits this object first. So it's almost where the sun is kissing the first spot on the object it is highlighting. All right, and again, light pressure. Remember to breathe. And it is pretty cool how much this white just makes it pop. So remember to look at it from that distance. I'm going to do a little one on the stem. Let's see. Let's do a little bit more on this one. And here I'm just doing like tiny little dash marks and almost a little bit of a dry brush effect. On a few on this top one, I can see a few little veins. So again, when you're painting, you don't have to do every single detail, but just a hint that there's another little section right there, and our brain picks up and fills in the blanks. take a look. Oh, not bad. Very cute. And if you do plan on giving this to somebody for a gift, take a Sharpie marker and on the back of your canvas, write a message to that person. Make it even a little bit more personalized. And please send me photos of what you painted today. Email them, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or like I said, tag me in social media, but keep them going. And I may actually go back and diffuse that with a little bit of white and maybe a little bit more there, but feel free to adjust whatever you guys need. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and honoring me with your time. It means the world to me. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a great Sunday, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Cheers.